Let's move over to the other side of Manchester and focus on Manchester City because, of course, that win, that 2-0 win at Old Trafford means that Manchester City are now back at the top of the table. In terms of the results that have gone their way and the fixtures that they have to come, do you think that they can be stopped or do you think that this title is theirs?
Now I think it's theirs. Obviously, football doesn't work out the way you expect on paper, as we all know, but I think they've flipped the fixture list on its head. 2 weeks ago, everyone would have said Liverpool have got the best fixtures. And then just in 2 games that City have obviously got through, there have been massive results. And now you would say City have got by far the best fixture list. So I think the last 2 weeks has probably won them the league.
Coming out of the Champions League, for, like you say, for Manchester City, just makes their run of fixtures look so much more manageable in comparison to Liverpool's when you look at what they've got to do. Let's focus on City's first. An away game at Burnley we know can be quite tricky. Leicester as well have taken points with them this season already. Brighton away, and then the FA Cup final, of course, after that, wrapped up on May the 18th against Watford. Do you see them dropping any points in those fixtures in the Premier League?
The way City are playing, you'd probably have to say no, but I think it'll be a difficult game. Burnley have found some form, especially at Burnley. I think Leicester have found some form as well, and that could be an interesting game. I think Brighton will be a comfortable victory for them if they need to win that to win the league. But I think if they get through Burnley, I think the title is probably theirs. But I think the plus side for City, no Champions League, and I think that might play a part in it as well.
What about as a player when you were playing? Did you like to play this congested fixture list when you've got to bounce between one competition to another, Premier League, Champions League? Because some people say it's tiring, but as a player, do you just want to play more games?
Yeah, you do. The more games you play, the less training sessions you have, so it's a lot more fun playing in the games. But the problem is now with the game so quick, it's great having loads of fixtures, but then you're just prone for injuries and then naturally you'll miss more games anyway. So, but the lads do prefer bouncing from game to game and also when you have a bad result, you only have a few days and you can do something about it. It doesn't sort of fester within the camp for a whole week. So yeah, personally, I just liked game after game.
What about for Liverpool? Because we've got these 2 legs with Barcelona home and away. How do you think that's going to affect them?
I think they're going to be 2 tough games. Where I think they were fortunate in the last round, I think they had 2 comfortable games against Porto where they didn't have to really dig too deep to get through in the competition, where Manchester City probably did against Tottenham. You know, I think that might have took a touch more out of them. Listen, they're fighting on 2 fronts here, Liverpool, you know, Champions League and the Premier League. So I think both are equally important. They could end up with both or they could end up with nothing or even one. Who knows, you know? It's great for us neutrals, I think, looking at it and seeing these 2 colossuses really going head-to-head, week in, week out.
Glen, you were involved in 2014. You know what it's like to be in a title race. How much does it take it out of you as you get towards the run in this stage of the season?
Yes, it's tough. That's why everyone always says whoever wins the league deserves to win the league, because there's so many ups and downs, and as Stuart mentioned earlier, games can be won by the tiniest margins or by the tiniest errors. So, yeah, it'd be tough. I just feel for Liverpool at the moment where the momentum's with City. They know they're in a driving seat, which is obviously a knock in the confidence for Liverpool. I'm just praying they don't get a negative result in the first leg against Barca, because if that happens, it's another knock in their confidence and they might start feeling sorry for themselves in the last few games.
And City have all the experience that they've drawn on recent years, especially last season, winning the league and doing it in such style. How much of a benefit is that going to be behind City, with Liverpool feeling they haven't done it for 29 years and there's a lot of pressure on them?
Yeah, I think once you've walked the walk and you've got your hands on the trophy for the first time, it makes you want more. And, you know, City players know what it's like to win. To retain the trophy again will be fantastic for them if they can manage that. But I still think there's a lot of football to be played before someone picks that trophy up on the last day of the season, potentially.
When you look at Manchester City, Stuart, and what they're doing at the moment, do they look a team to you improved from last season? They only brought Mahrez in, but individual players, the likes of Sterling, how much have they developed this season? I
think Raheem's a more improved player. I think Bernardo Silva's a much improved player. Laporte, you know, has benefited the team. I think Otamendi's improved. The goalkeeper's sensational. I think through the team they have, and the mark of how well they've improved is if you turn around and say, where does City need to go into the transfer market this summer? If someone said they've not signed a player this summer, you'd say, well, they'll be all right next year. You know, with Man United, we're talking 8, 9, however many players, you know, and the same can be said of a few other teams. But if they add 1 or 2 more to what they've got, you know, they're in the right place.
Raheem Sterling said that part of his development, he feels, this year, and part of his improvement is because of the intense competition at Manchester City. So we always talk about the wealth of riches that they've got, and when you look at their bench, it's incredible. How much does competition as a player, when you sit there and somebody's, you know, nipping at your coattails, spur you on to be a better player?
Yeah, it does. It started in our days at Chelsea, where teams started to get 2 players and top players in every position. So, of course, when you're the one with the shirt at the time, you're doing everything in your power that week to make sure you're starting the week after. So, yeah, the competition's healthy, and the performances Raheem's putting in now is probably a sign of all that. And as a professional, you don't want to see one of your teammates take your slot and then all of a sudden you're watching football rather than playing it. So I think that competition's very healthy.
Jurgen Klopp as well has not only bolstered his team and his squad, but he's also improved individual players, hasn't he? And how much credit do you think he deserves this season?
Listen, they've lost 1 game in the league this year and they're still not guaranteed to pick the title up. It's quite incredible. His recruitment's been brilliant. Down the spine of the team's been outstanding. You know, they'll probably get the PFA Player of the Year potentially at the heart of their defence. The goalkeeper's been outstanding. Robertson as a recruitment, you know, that 1 or 2 looked at and weren't sure, has come and been outstanding. The likes of Gomez looks as, you know, he's dipped into the academy as well with Trent Alexander and Gomez and people of that ilk, you know, which has improved it. You know, he's done a wonderful job there, no doubt.
Sure, how are they going to feel if they don't win the title this year? All the work that they've put in, like you say, losing at the moment, if they win the rest of their fixtures, just 1 game.
I think it's going to be one of the toughest blows that they'll ever suffer, to be fair, if I'm being honest, because they've not had their hands on a trophy for 3 seasons now. Now, if that turns into 4 seasons, that's a long time for a team playing as well as this, you know. They're only not picking up a trophy by virtue of Manchester City being so good, you know. You know, roll the clock back 15 years and they've won the league back in February.
Is this a team, if they don't do it this year, is this a team that we're going to see challenge again and again in future?
Well, that is the positive. If they don't get over that final hurdle this season, the good thing that's coming out of the club that they are competitive and they deserve to be there. It's not a fluke. So overall, of course, if they're competing for titles, that's what the Liverpool fans would want. But like Stuart says, you just feel sorry for them. If they lose this league with over 90 points, it's heartbreaking. It's a shame that one of them that has actually got to lose, but because that amount of points would win you pretty much, I think, every Premier League bar 1. I think it would have been.
How did it feel for you when it happened in 2014?
Yeah, it's tough. Because, like I say, you go through so much throughout the season, and then to lose pretty much everything you've been fighting for over a point or 2, it's hard to take. But we had performances there where we ground it out. This Liverpool side are blowing teams away. And if it wasn't for City, they probably would have won the league already.
With these 2 teams doing so well, does it just make everything else in the Premier League, put it into such contrast, the rest of the teams, how far off they are from Manchester City and Liverpool?
Yeah, I certainly think it does. I mean, these 2 have been, you know, streets ahead of the rest, I've got to say. You know, Tottenham are in 3rd place and they've lost 11 games. So, you know, it's quite excessive when you consider Liverpool have lost 1. But that's what they've got to do to try and catch those top 2. I don't see too many teams rivalling those top 2 in the next couple of years, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think they've got the financial clout to do it. You know, you look at Chelsea, I think if they lost Hazard, you'd be very fearful about where they would actually finish in the division.